Immediately, this caused the disciples of the great Luo sword sect to feel as if a mountain peak were pressing down from the sky. Their spiritual energy surged uncontrollably within their bodies, attempting to resist, as if they would not be able to bear it otherwise. From a distance, the great Luo sword sect appeared to have a vortex spinning wildly in the sky above. Beneath the center of that vortex, Wang Lin stood with his long hair billowing, his clothes fluttering in the wind. With his hands behind his back, he gazed calmly upward. His starry eyes gleamed with a bright light, as if they contained the entire expanse of the starry sky, shining with boundless brilliance. This scene, seen by the disciples of the great Luo sword sect nearby, seemed to stretch into eternity. Wang Lin stood there, tranquil and unmoving, gazing at the sky, quietly settling his thoughts on his past realizations. That bird, could it be my past life? Wang Lin muttered to himself, his eyes reflecting deep contemplation. He was immersed in the moment when he had stepped out from the divine reverse gate, the image of everything he had seen at that time lingering in his mind. The source. What is the source? That bird. It's not my past life, but a symbol of my mind, a creation born from it. The bird met its end in the serpent's mouth, but what does that mean? Wang Lin furrowed his brow. He had always found it difficult to grasp, though he vaguely sensed a thread of understanding. This time, after absorbing the supreme yang, divine reverse has reached a minor perfection. If I want to fully comprehend it, I must also absorb the supreme yin, achieving the grand unity of yin and yang. Only then will the answer come. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his eyes flashing with determination. Whether the heavenly fortune child is me or Ling Tianhou, this time, he was wrong about me. This game is broken. A cold smile appeared at the corner of Wang Lin's mouth. He suddenly stepped forward, entering the void and glancing downward at the massive tower where Ling Tianhou had been. The side of the tower had collapsed, revealing a large hole, with fluctuating waves of primordial energy still lingering within. Each time the divine reverse pearl is activated, it requires immense amounts of the world's primordial energy. This time, however, there was no change in the surrounding energy, yet Ling Tianhou fled in haste. If I compare the time of his escape to the two light clusters emitted from the divine reverse pearl, one of them clearly targeted Ling Tianhou. Wang Lin stepped forward and left the great Luo star, stepping into the vast expanse of the starry sky. Where is the other light cluster from the divine reverse pearl headed? Wang Lin pondered for a moment, his eyes flashing as he murmured, if it's headed towards the heavenly fortune child, that would be ideal. He withdrew his focus and stopped thinking about it. Instead, he transformed into a streak of rainbow light, speeding deeper into the starry sky. The heavenly fortune child's scheme has been shattered. There is no need to remain on Great Luo Star. I must prepare for my journey to the land of demonic spirits. Among the 4 immortal mansions, I control one, and I can take a few people with me. As Wang Lin flew, his mind was filled with various thoughts. He didn't use the shrinking earth technique, but his speed was still swift, his figure a streak of rainbow light. After several hours, he spotted an abandoned savage star in the distance. This is it. Without pausing, Wang Lin surged forward with a thunderous sound, heading straight toward the abandoned savage star. The shape of this star was peculiar, not round, but crescent-shaped, as if it had been swallowed whole, drifting in the vast sky. Occasionally, fragments of rock would fall off and drift into space. Wang Lin's rainbow streak approached rapidly, and in an instant, he dashed into the star's astral wind layer. This planet was devoid of spiritual energy, and even the astral wind layer was fragile. As Wang Lin broke through, the layer immediately collapsed, triggering a chain reaction that caused it to disintegrate. Without the protection of the astral wind layer, tiny dust particles from space fell onto the planet's surface, swirling into massive storms that howled and roared through the air. The ground of the planet was cracked, with no plants in sight, and the air was thick with death, as if life had been completely wiped out. Just as Wang Lin's feet touched the ground, 2 streaks of rainbow light came rushing from the distance. These 2 streaks were of different sizes, with the larger one falling behind as the smaller one closed in rapidly. Wang Lin remained calm, even allowing a slight smile to appear on his face. The smaller rainbow streak quickly approached and dissipated, revealing an eccentric figure. This person had an enormous head and a very thin body, with sparse hair and veins visible under his skin. "Greetings, master." The strange cultivator was none other than Datu. He and Reggie had been stationed here, waiting for Wang Lin's summons before he entered the heavenly fortune star. Reggie also arrived shortly after, landing and bowing respectfully. In a deep voice, he said, "Reggie greets the master." "Master, was your journey smooth?" Datu hesitated before asking. Wang Lin glanced at the two of them, nodded, and said slowly, "It went well, though there were a few small issues. I've come here to take you both to choose a cultivation star for secluded training. This place is harsh and unsuitable for such training." Datu nodded and replied, "Indeed, this place is not suitable. Not only is the star abandoned, but every hour, large areas of it collapse." Wang Lin didn't waste any words. With a flick of his wide sleeve, he swept up Datu and Reggie, leaving the abandoned star behind and heading straight for the starry sky. In the vast expanse of space, Reggie stretched out all four limbs, knelt on the ground, and with a roar, his body instantly swelled up. In the blink of an eye, he transformed into a towering figure over 100 feet tall, resembling a member of the giant demon clan. Wang Lin stepped onto Reggie's back and sat cross-legged. Datu followed Wang Lin closely, standing like a bodyguard. At that moment, a shadow flickered behind Wang Lin, and two Luo floating dust took a step forward, standing beside him with an indifferent expression. Wang Lin extended his right hand and pointed forward. Immediately, Reggie let out a roar and surged ahead, leaving behind only a trail of afterimages as he raced forward. As they journeyed, Wang Lin remained calm, but it was inevitable that they would encounter cultivators belonging to the territory of Destiny Star. No matter their cultivation level, upon seeing Reggie's enormous form, they all froze for a moment. Anyone who thought of blocking the path quickly stepped aside, not daring to interfere. Which mighty expert is this? How could they have such a giant demon clan mount? That cultivator sitting cross-legged seems somewhat familiar. I feel like I've seen them somewhere before. Forget about the mount. Look at those two bodyguards beside that old man. What cultivation level are they? I can't see through them. But even the elder of our sect probably doesn't have such an aura. Wherever Wang Lin and his party passed, discussions arose, and the gaze of all the onlookers was filled with reverence. In the cultivation world, strength is everything. Wang Lin sat cross-legged on Reggie's back, immersed in his primordial energy, as he sensed his cultivation at the peak of mid-glimpse of nirvana. Back when my cultivation was at early glimpse of nirvana, with the ancient god physique, I could fight against a pure nirvana early cultivator. Now that my cultivation has improved to mid-glimpse of nirvana, fighting against a pure nirvana early cultivator is nothing. Even against a mid-pure nirvana cultivator, I'm confident I can hold my ground. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed as he thought to himself. The blood ancestor was a mid-pure nirvana cultivator. If I were back then, I should be able to fight him. Although victory would be uncertain, it wouldn't be so easy for a mid-pure nirvana cultivator to kill me. At this moment, far ahead in the starry sky, a massive ship-shaped object slowly advanced. The ship was about 30 zhang long, pitch black, radiating fluctuating spiritual energy and emanating a powerful aura that immediately made it clear that this was no ordinary vessel. On the ship, there was a large reclining chair, where an elderly man lay, his body grotesquely massive, resembling a mountain of flesh. Surrounding him were 7 or 8 beautiful women, all dressed in revealing silk garments. They were exceptionally seductive, and as they surrounded the elderly man, their soft voices constantly reached his ears, causing him to laugh heartily. Some of the women held wine jugs, others held fruit, and a few, although not holding anything, gently massaged his body. 2 others lay on his chest, not at all repelled by his massive, mountain-like form, speaking to him with sweet voices. Around the elderly man and his seductive companions stood 7 black-clad individuals, unmoving like corpses. Yet, a sharp aura emanated from them. Their expressions were cold, and they kept their eyes fixed on the front, not speaking a word. Outside the ship, more than 100 cultivators in green robes hovered, stepping on sword beams as they protected the elderly man's journey. The elderly man, reclining in his chair, lazily slapped one of the women's hips with his large hand, laughing loudly as he took a drink. Just as he was about to speak, his brow furrowed as he looked ahead. None of the others seemed to notice anything unusual, but after a brief pause, a cold glint flickered in his eyes. He extended his wine cup toward one of the women beside him and said calmly, "Pour me a drink." The woman quickly grabbed the wine jug and filled the cup. At that moment, waves of fluctuations came from the ship's front, and a massive figure appeared in the distance, sprinting toward them. "It's him." The elderly man's facial muscles twitched, and his eyes gleamed with excitement. He placed the wine cup to his lips and drank it down in one go. At this moment, the 7 black-clad figures on the ship almost simultaneously looked up, their eyes gleaming with cold light. In a flash, they stepped out, transforming into 7 streaks of light that shot forward. "Whoever comes ahead, step aside within 3 breaths. Anyone who doesn't will be killed." Wang Lin's eyes flashed with coldness. Although he had been immersed in his primordial energy, his divine sense had never stopped spreading. Soon after the elderly man noticed him, Wang Lin had already sensed the old man's presence. Facing the 7 black-clad figures that shot forward like streaks of light, and hearing the domineering command, Wang Lin's lips curled into a cold smile. "You're the first. Let's see if my cultivation can truly defeat a pure nirvana early cultivator." Wang Lin's companion, Datu, licked his lips, his eyes gleaming with a bloodthirsty light. It had been a long time since he had killed anyone, and seeing the 7 black-clad figures before him, murderous intent surged in his heart. "Master, may I kill them?" Datu asked respectfully in a low voice. "Do as you wish." Wang Lin's voice was calm, but to Datu's ears, it was as if a sudden flash of killing intent pierced through his soul. He raised his head sharply, his eyes filled with bloodlust. With a step forward, his body vanished in the blink of an eye. The elderly man with the body like a mountain, his expression darkened, coldly watching the approaching Reggie from a distance. There was a flash of unusual light in his eyes as he studied Reggie carefully, and greed began to show on his face. "The mount of the giant demon clan, indeed a good thing. Since I've encountered Wang Lin here, he's just unlucky. The bodyguard beside him with that big head is a glimpse of Nirvana cultivator. And that puppet has some power too. Wang Lin can fight with Ling Tianho, though it's not easy for him. He relies on the power of his magical treasure. Treasure? Who doesn't have one?" Datu took a step forward and appeared in front of the 7 black-clad figures. A sinister smile crept across his face as his right hand waved through the air, directly grabbing toward one of them. The 7 black-clad figures were all beyond the realm of seeking the Tao, their cultivation sitting at the Yin deficiency stage. As Datu's hand reached out, the 7 of them instantly formed an array, combining their strength into one. The leader raised his right hand, making a gesture with his fingers and pointing forward. Immediately, the last person in the line began to weaken, and the 6th person in front of him followed suit. This continued down the line, as their combined primordial energy flowed into the first person, causing his body to swell rapidly. With a powerful blast, he unleashed a strike with his right hand. In an instant, a black tiger appeared before him and roared, charging directly at Datu. Datu laughed loudly, and without hesitation, his right hand struck forward. In that moment, the elderly man with the mountain-like body, who had been sitting on a chair, suddenly revealed a cold light in his eyes. He raised his right hand and pointed forward. A beam of black light shot forward at terrifying speed, heading straight for Datu. Wang Lin, sitting cross-legged on Reggie's back, his eyes glittered with intensity. With a single step, he teleported directly beside Datu. As the black light neared, Wang Lin didn't even glance at it. He casually waved his right hand. A loud explosion echoed as the black light shattered, dispersing into a wave of energy. Wang Lin remained calm as he looked at the elderly man with a mountain-like body and slowly spoke. "Do you dare to fight me?" The elderly man furrowed his brow slightly, sneering. "Little brat, it seems that after your fight with Ling Tianho, you think you can challenge me now." He swayed his body, suddenly vanishing. In the starry sky, he made a gesture with his right hand, and a massive illusion materialized behind him. The illusion was a towering stone tablet, glowing with golden light, illuminating the surrounding starry sky. Celestial steel annihilation. The elderly man shouted, and the massive stone tablet, with a flick of his finger, hurtled toward Wang Lin, aiming to crush him. Wang Lin's expression remained calm. He took a single step forward, clenched his fist, and punched forward with a sudden burst of power. This punch contained the peak of Wang Lin's glimpse of nirvana cultivation and was infused with the power of the ancient god. Thanks to the peak of his glimpse of nirvana cultivation, he didn't need to transform into the massive form of the ancient god, yet he could still wield the power of his peak state in the void. If he had transformed into the true form of the ancient god, Wang Lin was confident that he could battle against a mid-pure nirvana opponent. As the punch shot forward, a massive sonic boom erupted, echoing across the stars. In the wake of the punch, cracks appeared in the starry sky. But this was just the beginning. The true power of this punch manifested as hundreds of ancient godlike arms materialized before Wang Lin, each nearly 100 feet long. It was as if this punch was being thrown by both Wang Lin and the ancient god's illusion together. This scene left the elderly man with the mountain-like body in shock. Especially when the ancient god arms appeared, a dense aura of primordial power spread across the cosmos, imbued with a sense of overwhelming arrogance and destruction, as if it could shatter the world itself. Any force attempting to stop this punch would be crushed. It would break apart. Previously, Wang Lin couldn't achieve this kind of complete manifestation of the ancient god's illusion with just a punch, and could only do so with great effort. But now, for him, this punch was effortless. With this punch, the massive stone tablet that was hurtling toward Wang Lin was instantly struck by the ancient god's arm, and with a loud crash, it shattered into pieces. The elderly man froze for a moment, his face darkening, but before he could react, the punch Wang Lin had thrown was already crashing toward him. The sound of sonic booms echoed through the air as the elder coldly snorted and made a series of hand gestures, pointing ahead. Instantly, 9 seals appeared before him, overlapping and charging straight towards Wang Lin's fist. Explode. At the moment of impact, the elder's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he shouted, "Boom, boom, boom." A violent shockwave shook the world, spreading out like an angry wave. The black, ship-like vessel was immediately pushed back, and even Reggie had no choice but to retreat. As for the cultivators led by the elder, they too withdrew, except for Datu, who, with a sinister grin, took advantage of the elder's battle with Wang Lin. He charged into a group of 7 black-clad figures, and in the blink of an eye, flesh and blood exploded, blood splattering everywhere. A few drops even landed at the corner of his mouth, and Datu licked them up with his tongue. The 9 seals exploded, but the elder's expression didn't ease. Instead, shock appeared on his face as he immediately retreated without hesitation. In front of him, as the seals collapsed, Wang Lin stepped forward. His expression was calm, and he was completely unharmed. The earlier impact had been completely neutralized by a single punch. It seems I do have the qualification to kill a cultivator in the early pure nirvana stage. Wang Lin slowly walked toward the elder, step by step. The elder's face turned pale. Even at this moment, he couldn't believe that Wang Lin possessed such strength. When he had seen Wang Lin fight Ling Tianho, he had always thought that Wang Lin's power came from a magical artifact, and that Ling Tianho had not used his full strength. But now, he was deeply feeling the overwhelming power emanating from Wang Lin. A flash of killing intent appeared in the elder's eyes. He was known for being ruthless, and upon encountering Wang Lin today, he had already harbored murderous thoughts. His desire to kill stemmed from greed, not only for the giant demon clan's mount, but also for the immortal mansion key. If I kill him, I can obtain the key, and with an immortal mansion, the help it provides for the land of demonic spirits would be immense. The elder licked his lips, retreating while unhesitatingly performing a series of hand gestures, tapping on his body several times. With each tap, his body trembled. As his hands continued to tap, his body quivered uncontrollably, and a vicious look appeared on his face. Wang Lin, if you're sensible, hand over the immortal mansion key and the giant demon clan mount. I will let you leave alive. Otherwise, you will remain here. The elder shouted as he pushed forward with both hands. Immediately, his grotesque, mountain-like body began to move on its own. As it squirmed, the elder's once bloated form rapidly shrank down. However, as his body shrank, a terrifying aura gathered wildly, and eventually, a blinding light appeared in the center of his forehead. Two luo floating dust. The elder's body had now shriveled completely, almost like a skeleton. He whispered under his breath, and the light in his forehead erupted into a beam, shooting straight toward Wang Lin. As the light expanded, Wang Lin's eyes flashed coldly. Though he didn't know what the light was, he sensed a hint of danger. The old monster of pure nirvana. Indeed, one should never underestimate anyone. Though this person is only in the early pure nirvana stage, if I weren't an ancient god's body, it would still be difficult to fight. Especially this divine light technique that compresses the essence of his flesh and blood. It's extraordinary. Wang Lin's right hand reached into the void, and suddenly, a deafening roar echoed through the starry sky. The primordial energy surged wildly, and a rift in the sky opened. A red glow emerged from the crack, and under its gathering force, the god-slaying spear manifested in Wang Lin's hand. You have the qualifications to make me use it. Wang Lin gripped the illusory god-slaying spear and threw it forward. The spear transformed into a crimson streak, heading straight for the incoming light. At the moment the god-slaying spear flew out, the aura of the wilderness reached its peak. As the spear flickered, a vast, sweeping force spread across the heavens and earth. With a deafening crash, the god-slaying spear collided with the light. Boom, boom, boom. With continuous impacts, the light rapidly weakened and shattered in just a few moments. The god-slaying spear flickered and flew toward the elder. The elder's face turned pale, disbelief and fear flashing in his eyes. He retreated explosively, but his speed was no match for the god-slaying spear. In an instant, the spear caught up with him and was about to pierce through his body. At that critical moment, the elder slapped his storage pouch and a small cyan shield appeared in his hand. As the shield flickered, it blocked the god-slaying spear, colliding with it head-on. With a loud bang, the small shield trembled and retreated, but there was no sign of any cracks. Without hesitation, the elder spat out a mouthful of blood, immediately activating the blood escape technique. Gripping the cyan shield, he shot backward, his speed unfathomable as a pure nirvana cultivator using the blood escape. The moment the old man took out the small shield, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly burst with sharp light. He clearly felt that there was a faint ancient god aura lingering on the shield. In the blink of an eye, he fused with the world and vanished without a trace. The old man was struck with a jolt as he saw this, his scalp tingling and his soul trembling in fear. Almost instinctively, he spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated at an even faster speed. Sweat streamed down his forehead as his heart screamed. Shrinking Earth Technique. This Wang Lin actually knows Shrinking Earth Technique. The Shrinking Earth Technique wasn't something everyone could master. Possessing this technique meant that, in a battle between cultivators of similar cultivation levels, one would have the advantage of invincibility. This person's cultivation level definitely surpasses mine, and he can use Shrinking Earth Technique. This battle, the old man's face went pale, and fear was evident in his eyes. As he retreated rapidly, ripples appeared beside him. Wang Lin stepped out, not hesitating for a moment. His right fist clenched, and he struck directly. He was too close to the old man. At this moment, his punch was barely lifted but already was only 7 inches from the old man. From a distance, it seemed as though the old man had sent it toward himself. The ancient god power contained within the punch turned into a storm, sweeping toward the old man. The old man's pupils contracted as he gritted his teeth and cried out in panic. "Friend, spare me. Let me speak, just one word." The old man's face was ashen, his heart racing wildly. He hadn't felt this kind of life or death crisis in years. His whole body was numb, and in this desperate moment, he abandoned his pride and said those words. Wang Lin's right hand halted abruptly, his fist stopping just an inch from the old man's nose. He coldly stared at the old man. The old man was drenched in cold sweat, his peripheral vision fixed on the fist before him. He could clearly sense the immense power contained within it. If it landed, his body would surely collapse, and once his essence spirit was separated from his body, he doubted he could escape Wang Lin's grasp. You need help to go to the land of demonic spirits. I am willing to offer my assistance in exchange for sparing my life today. Wang Lin's expression remained icy, revealing no trace of emotion. He simply stared at the old man. Under Wang Lin's gaze, the old man's heart sank. Gritting his teeth, he added, "In addition, I will give you this treasure shield. It's the most protective artifact I own. With it, once you enter that cave mansion, you will have much greater help." Saying this, the old man erased the mark on the shield and handed it to Wang Lin. Wang Lin was silent for a moment before slowly retracting his fist and taking the shield. After carefully inspecting it, he stored it in his storage pouch. Seeing Wang Lin withdraw his fist, the old man sighed in relief and cautiously looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin raised his right hand, forming a hand seal. In an instant, a restriction materialized. Just like when he controlled the two, it became a slave mark and pressed onto the old man's forehead. The old man didn't dare resist, allowing Wang Lin to place the mark. The mark flickered a few times before merging into his forehead and disappearing. "Finish your matters and follow me." Wang Lin didn't look at the old man. With a turn, his figure vanished, reappearing atop Reggie's back, sitting cross-legged. The 7 black-clad men had long been slaughtered by the two, who now returned to Wang Lin's side, licking his lips. The old man sighed silently, his body swaying as he returned to the boat. He called over his disciples, gave a few simple orders, and allowed them to leave with the boat. He then climbed onto Reggie's back and stood before Wang Lin with a bitter smile. "As per your orders, all my trivial matters have been dealt with. My name is Xun'er. My Dao title is Floating Wind Master. Today, I lost to you, and I have no regrets. I will certainly honor my word and assist you in the land of demonic spirits. However, I hope that once you return, you will break the seal for me. Let's part on good terms." Wang Lin calmly gazed at Xun'er and spoke slowly. "The seal isn't deep. If you want to break it, you can do so at any time." Xun'er shook his head with a bitter smile. He had already figured it out. This seal only contained a glimpse of Nirvana Cultivator's power, and if he wanted, he could break it in no time. But he didn't dare take the risk. In fact, his growing wariness of Wang Lin was largely due to this matter. Xun'er felt that Wang Lin was too cunning, and the seal was like a death warrant. If he trusted Wang Lin and secretly broke the seal, he feared that a deeper chain reaction would occur. At that time, the power and consequences would surely be beyond his ability to handle. Otherwise, how could Wang Lin be so careless? This man is deep and scheming, not to be underestimated. Compared to the seal cast by a pure Nirvana cultivator, which had no surprises, though it forced me to yield temporarily, I will always be thinking of breaking the seal. But now, he makes the seal seem like it could break at any moment, yet in reality, it contains hidden dangers. This seal is far too insidious. How could I dare touch it? The old man chuckled bitterly. This was Wang Lin's goal. After all, his true cultivation was still at the peak of the mid-glimpse of Nirvana stage. He simply couldn't seal a pure Nirvana cultivator. So, the only option left was to rely on his cunning. This cunning turned into an invisible seal. If used well, it could be sharper than any seal created by heaven and earth, many times over. If you obey my orders during this period, once we leave the land of demonic spirits, I will grant you your freedom," Wang Lin said calmly. Xun'er nodded, not speaking further. He sat cross-legged nearby. His body was extremely thin, but after a short time of meditation, as he regulated his breathing, his body slowly began to expand again. The technique he cultivates is quite peculiar. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. He knew that Xun'er meditating before him was merely showing a gesture to indicate that he had no other intentions, only focusing on gaining his freedom after leaving the land of demonic spirits. With this person's help, I have gained more confidence in the journey to the land of demonic spirits. It's just a pity my side is still lacking. Wang Lin sighed inwardly. In the silence, Reggie moved swiftly, racing through the starry sky. After a while, a distant water-blue cultivation star came into view. From far away, it looked beautiful, like a water sphere, shimmering with colors, and thick spiritual energy was spreading throughout. This is Water Spirit Star, belonging to the 3 Masters of Dust Path. It is said that the star's name was given after the youngest female descendant of the Dust Path's Stellar One. Xun'er opened his eyes and gazed at the water spirit star. A lecherous gleam flashed in his eyes as he slowly spoke. He was quite taken by the woman named Shui Ling. If not for the people behind the three masters of Dust Path, he would have long kidnapped her and made her a furnace cauldron. The three masters of Dust Path. Wang Lin glanced at the water-blue planet, pondered for a moment, and then decided to bypass this place. Although the cultivation star was suitable for him to retreat in, he had some dealings with the three masters of Dust Path, so it would not be wise to attempt to seize it. Just as he was about to leave, three long streaks of light suddenly shot out from the water spirit star. These streaks of light whistled through the air, resembling three giant dragons. As they crossed, they formed a powerful storm. Which friend of the Tao is circling in front of our Dust Path three masters' door? A deep voice, familiar to Wang Lin, echoed from the storm. Before the voice finished, everyone immediately sensed it. The storm halted abruptly, and three figures emerged, none other than the three masters of Dust Path. They had only just returned not long ago. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the Ghost Eye market had been abruptly halted before it even began, so they had left. While meditating on their own cultivation star, they sensed the presence of several second-step cultivators outside the star. Without hesitation, they flew out. When they saw Reggie's massive figure, despite their calm expressions, their hearts trembled. In the Alliance star domain, only the old monsters who could be compared to figures like Ling Tianho or Tian Yunzi had the qualifications to ride a giant demon clan member. Soon, they also saw the people on Reggie's back. When they spotted Wang Lin, all three of them froze, especially Stellar One, who had witnessed the battle on Destiny Star. He had believed that Wang Lin was doomed to die. Now, seeing him again, after a moment of shock, his heart was filled with respect. To have caused a battle between Tian Yunzi and Ling Tianho, this demon path scion is not simple. However, today, the three masters of Dust Path were left somewhat confused as they saw Xun'er. Xun'er's name was well known in the Destiny Star domain. Although he couldn't compare to the blood ancestor of old, he was still one of the prominent old monsters. Especially with his notorious obsession with women, including his past interest in Xun'er, which caused the three masters of Dust Path much concern for quite a while. Now, seeing him again, although Xun'er had lost some weight, the three immediately recognized him. A tremor in their minds left them unsure of how to read the situation before them. For a moment, the three fell silent. Xun'er chuckled and said, "Three masters of Dust Path, how about you give me this water spirit star?" The three masters of Dust Path's expressions changed. Just as they were about to speak, Wang Lin frowned and calmly said, "Noisy." Xun'er's heart skipped a beat. Though Wang Lin's words were calm, he sensed something unfriendly. At that moment, he dared not offend Wang Lin. He quickly forced a smile and didn't dare to speak further. This scene left the three masters of Dust Path stunned. "Stellar One, fellow Taoist, it's been a while since we last met. I didn't realize this star belongs to the three of you. I will leave now and find another place to close myself off." Wang Lin cupped his hands and said to Stellar One. Stellar One quickly returned the gesture, but inwardly, he was greatly shaken. He never expected that Xun'er, under Wang Lin's simple noisy, would show a hint of fear. "Fellow Taoist Wang, I wonder what your relationship is with the Floating Wind Master." Stellar One hesitated before asking. "He is my servant," Wang Lin said without elaboration, nodding slightly at Stellar One, and was about to leave. He didn't know that his words, when heard by the three masters of Dust Path, were like thousands of thunderclaps exploding simultaneously. The three of them almost gasped, their eyes filled with intense shock. "Brother Wang, don't rush off. This water spirit star is vast. If you don't mind, you can cultivate here," said Dustless One without hesitation. "This person has a giant demon clan mount, is a pure nirvana cultivator, and even made the famous Floating Wind Master his servant. Moreover, the strange and towering cultivator behind him is also at the glimpse of nirvana stage. Not to mention, that object behind him, clearly a puppet, is also strong. Someone like him must be befriended." Dustless One continued. Seeing Wang Lin hesitate, Dustless One quickly clasped his fists and said, "Brother Wang, apart from my water spirit star, there's no other star within hundreds of thousands of miles that can compare. Moreover, This star is huge. We will never disturb your cultivation. Stellar One and First Dragon Prince, standing by, immediately understood Dustless One's intentions and quickly urged Wang Lin to accept. Wang Lin nodded and clasped his fists. In that case, I will trouble the three of you. Dustless One laughed heartily. It's no trouble at all. It's our honor to have Brother Wang stay on Water Spirit Star. Please. As he spoke, Dustless One stepped back, raised his hand, and led the massive figure of Reggie toward Water Spirit Star. As they moved, Reggie's body gradually shrank, eventually transforming into a man of about 10 feet tall. He walked behind Wang Lin, parallel to Datu and Pagoda Mountain. As for Floating Wind Master, he naturally didn't dare to speak more and followed behind Wang Lin toward Water Spirit Star. Along the way, the three masters of Dust Path and Wang Lin engaged in light-hearted conversation, mostly discussing trivial matters. The events outside Ghost Eye City that day were never mentioned by Dustless One and the others. All of them were great cultivators with immense powers. It didn't take long before they neared Water Spirit Star and entered the astral wind layer. The howling astral winds whipped against them, but they were powerless before these mighty cultivators. To them, the astral winds were nothing. Soon, they stepped out of the astral wind layer, with Wang Lin surrounded by the others, like the moon being held by the stars, descending onto the unfamiliar Water Spirit Star. As soon as they emerged from the astral wind layer, a dense spiritual energy enveloped the area. Wang Lin inhaled deeply, a look of admiration in his eyes. Dustless One and the others, who had been accompanying him, noticed Wang Lin's expression. Dustless One secretly felt pleased, thinking to himself that Water Spirit Star was the best cultivation star within hundreds of thousands of miles. If not for their master, it would have been impossible for the three of them to occupy this place. This star is great. Wang Lin smiled. Dustless One laughed heartily. If Brother Wang likes it, you may stay here permanently. I would be honored. Just as they were speaking, several immortal cranes flew out from the clouds in the distance, their movements graceful. One of them carried a young girl dressed in a blue skirt. Her beauty was exceptional, and even before she arrived, her silver bell-like laughter echoed in the air. Senior sister, you mentioned discovering an underground spring. Where exactly is it? Behind the girl, seated on another crane, was a woman in purple. She had a cold beauty, with skin as white as jade, glowing with an ethereal radiance. Her features were so delicate that anyone who gazed upon her would be momentarily entranced. Her cold demeanor softened only when facing the younger girl, and a smile appeared on her face as she gently said, "Little sister, don't worry, we're almost there." As she spoke, her gaze fell upon Dustless One and the others. With a quick sweep of her eyes, she stood up and respectfully greeted them. Disciple Zhao Shui greets Master and all senior uncles. The second of the three masters of Dust Path, First Dragon Prince, smiled slightly and turned to Wang Lin. Brother Wang, this is my disciple, Zhao Shui. He then turned to the purple-clad woman and said, Zhao Shui, don't you want to greet Senior Wang? The purple-clad woman's beautiful eyes landed on Wang Lin, her expression respectful, and she softly said, Greetings, Senior. The young girl on the crane had already noticed Wang Lin and the others. Her large eyes blinked as she smiled sweetly. Senior Wang, do you still remember Lingna? Her voice was incredibly soft, and there was a natural charm in her words, typical of a water spirit root woman. It reached Wang Lin's ears, making him smile and nod. Of course, I remember. The straw hat and soul bell I gave you, weren't they from me? The girl covered her mouth and giggled, about to say something, but suddenly blushed and glanced over at the purple-clad woman. The purple-clad woman looked surprised. She knew that her junior sister had been talking about a Wang senior for the past few days, sharing stories of their journey. Every time this senior was mentioned, her junior sister would beam with excitement, especially the pair of soul bells, which she adored and always fiddled with. Over the past few days, the topic of this senior Wang had almost become the only thing on her lips, and even Zhao Shui herself couldn't help but become curious about him. At this moment, Zhao Shui couldn't help but glance at Wang Lin a few more times, but she didn't notice anything particularly unusual about him. Yikenzi smiled as he observed the scene before him, then looked at Wang Lin. A thought crossed his mind, and he laughed heartily, saying, Xun'er, your senior Wang has decided to stay here temporarily. Please, don't disturb him. With that, he took the lead and flew forward with Wang Lin. Wang Lin gave Xun'er a slight nod and took a step forward. The others, including Ta Shan and De Tu, followed closely behind. The floating wind master cast a quick glance at the two women, silently sighed, and trailed behind. Xun'er stuck out her little tongue, her face still flushed, and soon began to playfully laugh and chat with Zhao Shui, the woman in purple. They flew off together on an immortal crane, gradually drifting into the distance. The place that Yikinzi and the others arranged for Wang Lin was an elegant palace complex in the eastern part of Water Spirit Star. The palaces had an ancient style, exuding a celestial aura. From afar, they seemed to sit amidst the mountains, almost as if they were part of the immortal realm. This was also the region with the densest spiritual energy on Water Spirit Star. After escorting Wang Lin and his group here, the three masters of Dust Path smiled and bid farewell, agreeing to visit again the next day. Once the three masters left, Wang Lin gazed at the massive palace complex before him. The area was full of mountains, with almost every mountaintop housing a palace. Under such a dense arrangement, there were dozens of palaces here, grand and imposing. Surrounding the palaces were towering trees, stretching up to the sky. The entire area was covered in lush greenery, filling the air with a refreshing calmness. I will enter seclusion for a few days. Ta Shan, you will protect the place. The rest of you may choose your dwellings, but none of you are to go further than 100 miles away from me. Wang Lin spoke calmly. After leaving the instruction, he flicked his body and flew toward one of the palaces. Ta Shan stepped forward and followed closely behind Wang Lin. The two hesitated briefly, then, along with Reggie, chose a palace nearby. It was close enough that if Wang Lin called, they would be able to reach him in an instant. As for the floating wind master, he sighed inwardly and chose a palace farther away. He subconsciously didn't want to stay too close to Wang Lin, but he still kept the 100-mile restriction in mind. Wang Lin quickly arrived at his chosen residence. After a brief scan, he nodded in admiration. The sprawling palace complex was diverse in its design, but each palace was magnificently built. Inside the palace, Ta Shan sat cross-legged outside, unmoving, guarding Wang Lin. The interior of the palace was luxurious, with jade-carved railings and intricate decorations. The floor was adorned with a massive 8 trigrams pattern, devoid of any spiritual energy, clearly just a decorative element. In the center stood a copper censer large enough for 3 people to embrace, filled with incense sticks as thick as arms. The smoke spiraled upwards, eventually dissipating across the ceiling and spreading outwards. Beside the censer, there was a purple jade meditation mat, clearly meant for sitting in meditation. On the surrounding walls, there were carved murals and reliefs, all connected, with swirling clouds and mist. It depicted a scene of immortals welcoming the emperor. Wang Lin surveyed the surroundings, feeling quite satisfied. The area was spacious, ideal for refining magical tools, and it was peaceful, making it perfect for seclusion. His divine sense spread out as he carefully examined his surroundings. After a moment, Wang Lin sat down on the purple jade mat and slowly closed his eyes. His primordial energy circulated throughout his body, and his cultivation, at the peak of mid-glimpse of nirvana, surged. As soon as he settled in, he remained in meditation for 3 full days. During this time, the 3 masters of Dust Path came to visit, but did not disturb him. They waited for a while before leaving. On the 3rd night, under the dim moonlight, the wind blew gently across Water Spirit Star, rustling the leaves and bringing an overall tranquility. Inside the palace, Wang Lin, sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened his eyes. In that instant, his body, which had remained still for 3 days, shot with 2 beams of light from his eyes. As his eyes opened, it was as though the entire dark palace lit up in an instant, the surrounding shadows disappearing. 3 days of meditation, combined with my earlier practice, have truly solidified my cultivation at the peak of mid-glimpse of nirvana. With my ancient god physique, I should be able to fight someone at the mid-pure nirvana stage. But even with this, it's still not enough to face the immortal mansion in the land of demonic spirits. Wang Lin murmured to himself. After a brief silence, he tapped his storage pouch, and a beam of blue light shot out. The blue light flickered, causing the palace to become shrouded in mist. Within the blue light was a palm-sized shield. It was entirely blue, forged from some unknown material. Swirling clouds and mist could be seen within it, making it appear quite beautiful. The blue shield floated around Wang Lin 4 times before stopping in front of him, hanging motionless in the air. The light on the shield seemed to freeze, as though it were eternal. Wang Lin gazed at the shield, his eyes flickering. He had sensed a trace of ancient god aura from it when the floating wind master had revealed it earlier. However, the aura was faint, as though sealed or suppressed. If it weren't for Wang Lin's own ancient god background, anyone else would have completely missed it. The ancient god, too, never refined such a treasure in his lifetime. But back in the primordial era, there were many ancient gods. This item must have belonged to another ancient god, a relic left behind after they passed. Wang Lin pondered for a moment before raising his right hand. The cyan light shield immediately floated forward and landed in the palm of his hand. Up close, the ancient god aura on the shield became even more apparent. Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he gazed at the shield, carefully examining it for a long time. Finally, his gaze fixed on a mark on the side of the shield.